I'm a hothead. I always think that I'm right. Can't nobody tell me nothing. I always think that, I'm a Pisces. So,
I'm gonna say
like,
that's a Pisces behavior.
we're like, woo, I got this passion that the ancestors and God themselves put inside my heart. And it is my duty to carry it out by any means necessary. And if you in the way, then you might just get ran over. I think it's one thing to talk about like being friends with people and people deserve a second chance, and another thing to stand toe to toe with the chief of police and to say, you're wrong and you're hurting people and you should be held accountable for that hurt and harm that you're causing.
And I also had to learn to tame my anger. When you really start to learn about white supremacy and capitalism and how it really harms Black and brown people, and how the way that I grew up and the way me and Kyra grew up specifically, and why the way that like the harms that happened to us, we had a lot of personal trauma that happened to our parents, to ourselves, and to like our friends, and to our friends' siblings. People tell us and taught us that if you do the crime, you do the time. But it's not about us doing the crime. It's about crime being done to our communities, and it puts us in situations that results in us doing things that locks us up. And the thing is not that like everyone does commit crime. Everyone does commit crime. Crime is made up. People created these rules and everyone breaks them. It's just that if you are Black, brown, and if you are poor, you are more likely to be jailed for these things, to be enslaved, to be imprisoned for these things that a lot of people do.
We have a list of city demands that we have for the city of Indianapolis, and they're really nationwide and global demands. But the very first demand is to end cash bail. Right now, there are people who are stuck in jail for any type of offense, but especially nonviolent minor offenses, until they're able to go to court, and they're stuck there because they cannot pay their bail. Now, it's just not right. You know what I mean? Because that goes back into who has access to freedom, and you shouldn't have to. Freedom should be free. Kyra works for an organization that labors for bail reform and abolition of bail, and you shouldn't be stuck somewhere because you can or cannot pay to get out. So one of the Democratic senators is introducing a bill to reduce or eliminate the cost of bail for people for certain offenses. And we're excited because we're seeing, some of the labor that we've been doing and some of the influence and behind the scenes work and the non-exciting stuff, actually start to come to pass.
First off, we're women in films. We're Black women in films. So we live in this misogynistic, masculine society. So us being Black women.
Explain what misogynistic means real fast.
What'd you say?
Explain misogynistic real fast.
Oh, misogynistic. So basically, I'm gonna break it down like really simple, like women should do this, women should cook and clean, women should stay at home. We basically need to stay in a woman's place, which is in the home, cooking in the kitchen. That's an example of what misogyny is. Live in this world where like masculinity, that's power. So being Black women in films, being Black and being women in films, it's just we get overlooked a lot. It took a while for people to recognize that we were leaders in this city, because we're, like I said, we're Black women in films. So it took a while for people to acknowledge us. And then, of course, we get people who are racist. We get people who send us death threats. We're all on the news. Our faces are out there. People see us and they want to harm us because we are women and we are femmes and we are Black. So we face a lot of that we can face that a lot in our community and outside of our community, unfortunately. You get some people who don't think it's any wrong with the police or think the police are doing their job. A lot of the times our voices are not heard. A lot of the times we don't get seats at the table. And a lot of times people don't like us because we have this mindset that we want to abolish like the system, and we want to change the system in a radical way.
Explaining that emotional labor for Black women in films is a thing. Google is free.
It's free.
It's been free. It's gonna be free. But a lot of people, because they don't respect Black women's autonomy, they don't respect the fact that we're still people. We still operate as people. We're imperfect in our womanism, in our feminism, in our activism. There are a lot of things that we are still working on and trying to work through. So we don't always have the answers. And sometimes folks aren't used to that. Another challenge is being so public and forward facing, having to be mindful of your interactions with the police, going to policy meetings and telling the chief of police that he's dead wrong for letting people who killed a 19-year-old Black child go back to work without any sort of public transparency, and knowing that because this force has $250 million behind them, that at any time they could pull you over, they could pull up on you, they could send your stuff over to the feds, and they could frame you. And that's what happens to Black activists. I mean, even with the pandemic and folks getting laid off, they just released a report saying that in December, 140,000 jobs were lost in the US. All of those jobs were women held. And of those jobs, it was Black and Hispanic women who lost 140,000 jobs in December, while white women, gain jobs. And it's not something that we present to pit people against each other, but it's something for us to say that there is statistical evidence of this imbalance in society. Why is one group thriving while other groups are disproportionately declining?
It's really important to involve various community organizations because so many different things overlap. There's gay people and queer people and transgender people and Black people and brown people. And there's just so many different styles of being a human. And it's really important to honor all of those layers of humanity. Kimberly Crenshaw calls it intersectionality. So all of the different layers of human existence that can interact all at once.
And we have a way for students to raise their hands on the screen. So I'll try to get to as many questions as we can, but I do want to just highlight something from the chat that says, wow, we are meeting real life superheroes right now.
Oh,
That's fine.
Y'all know we didn't dress our Pisces, they'll cry.
I'm feeling that way to myself right now, and just the power that I see in how you all being open about who you are and the challenges that you faced, but you kept going, and also the example of the four of you working together and supporting each other.
If we really want to change the world, and I got this from Angela Davis, if we want to make the world a better place, we have to start with our communities first, right? It doesn't matter if I want to make Black people free and equal all across the globe if I'm not working right here in Indianapolis.